Alright, I'm sure we've all seen the people saying that this dude right here is Jigen. Well, I'm going to tell you what this guy is not Jigen. Let's get into it. Wait, before we get into it, I just want to thank all of you for 119 subscribers. It's been a crazy ride with y'all, and because there are more chapters now, I'm putting out more content. So stay tuned. I'm going to keep you entertained in this month before chapter 5 at the end of the year. Let's get into it. So, for us to understand the current situation, we have to go right back in time to where we were first introduced to Jigen and Isshiki. So, as you can see in the panel right here, Amado tells us that Otsutsuki Isshiki came to the planet long ago, along with Kaguya. And that, let's go back to what that means. If you go back to the anime filler arc, specifically this arc happened immediately after Kaguya and Isshiki came. It means that immediately after Kaguya double-crossed Isshiki, this arc began. And with this arc began the ninja world. Now, Kaguya thought that she had ended Ishiki's life and that Isshiki was no more. So what she wanted to do was to prepare for Momoshiki, Kinshiki, and Urashiki. But what she didn't know that Isshiki didn't die but was on the verge of death. And Jigen was passing by. So Isshiki used Sukuna Hikona, his secret technique. He shrunk down and he entered Jigen's brain. And now this is where you have to understand that Jigen was only Jigen during the time of the Kaguya filler arc. Jigen didn't control his body again for as far as we know. Let's say during the Kaguya filler arc, okay, Jigen was in control of his body and Isshiki was in his brain. But as soon as Naruto, the first Naruto series started, Isshiki had complete control of Jigen. Now, I want to say, I presume that Isshiki was looking for a vessel during that period. And probably all the children at that time were always going out for war and they were dying. And Isshiki was, of course, not ready to come out because Jigen's body was not compatible with the amount of power that Isshiki possessed. So that's why he came out probably during the Boruto period. But this is what I want you to understand. As far as we've known Jigen in the anime and manga, it isn't Jigen. Jigen hasn't been himself. As I said in this panel here, Isshiki took over Jigen's brain, which allowed him to move Jigen's hands and legs and let him speak using Jigen's voice. So for as long as we've known Jigen, for as far as we've known it, Jigen wasn't Jigen. Jigen was Isshiki. Isshiki was using Jigen's body. Jigen isn't himself. The only time we've ever seen Jigen was when Jigen cried after his body broke, after Isshiki fought Naruto and Sasuke. That was the only time we've seen Jigen. Isshiki has been using Jigen's brain and has been controlling it. Jigen has never appeared once except for that time he was crying. Then Isshiki asked him why was he crying, that he can't take the pain, that type of thing. I had to just make that clear because most fans have always thought that Jigen was his own character and that when his karma activates, Isshiki takes over. No, Isshiki has taken over Jigen since. I'm giving you a time frame so you understand better, but it's probably before that. Let's say since the start of Naruto. That is how long Isshiki has been using Jigen's body. So Jigen has just been in the back of his mind. It's something like what Momoshiki wants to do to Boruto. Take over, Boruto will just be in the back of his own mind. But Momoshiki is using his body. That's exactly what happened with Jigen and Isshiki. Now we are getting to the important part. If you remember, Kashinkoji and Amado had the plan to force Isshiki out of Jigen by killing Jigen, and then they defect to the leaf if Koji was successful. Obviously he wasn't because Isshiki was too much for him, but that's not the point. Look at this fire here. Those were flames summoned from Mount Miyubaku in another dimension. Flames that can never be put out, like the Amaterasu. Now I want you to understand that Jigen was burned alive. Jigen was burned alive, his body was decimated. We literally see Amado say it in this panel that Jigen's body was burned alive, that he's dead medically. But as a host for Isshiki, he was not dead. But Jigen's body, Jigen's consciousness, Jigen's brain, everything about Jigen is gone. As it's not like it was ever there, considering that Isshiki had been controlling Jigen's body right from the start. But what I want you to get is that Jigen is gone. And this is another location. It's basically another dimension, because we know that, I think that, when Boruto first started, we saw Jigen, but controlled by Isshiki, holding a Genjutsu meeting in a place with cubes. I think that was the Daikoku dimension. If that makes sense on how Jigen was the only one there and everyone had to join telepathically. Okay? So get this. Every place we've seen the carrier operations has been in another dimension. They see Naruto in another dimension. They hold meetings in another dimension, and they keep the Ten-Tails in another dimension. So where Jigen died, I think it's another dimension. Okay, and the only the only relationship the Ten-Tails and Jigen had was Jigen taking chakra from the Ten-Tails. Like, the Ten-Tails never went up and touched Jigen's body at any point, not that we saw. But as far as we know, the only relationship they had was Jigen taking chakra from the Ten-Tails. So that guy is not Jigen. That Shinju is not Jigen. It might be a returning character. I theorize that it might be Kakashi, but there is no proof here. We don't know who he is till they reveal it to us. But if they reveal it's Jigen, for me it won't make sense. Jigen was incarcerated alive by flames that will never go out. Now let's get to why it's not Isshiki. Now, as I've said, Jigen was incarcerated alive by flames from Mount Miyobako that can never be put out. But as soon as he died medically, Jigen came out in, let's say 1/4 of his full power, because Jigen's body was breaking because he could not take Ishiki's full power. So Isshiki, using the Sukuna Hikuna, shrank all the flames, and this was the rebirth of Isshiki. Now let's get to the death and why Isshiki is not that Shinju. I know we can all recall this, and we can all recall how it happened. Naruto and Isshiki gave us one heck of a fight in the dimension I like to call the Barrier Mode Valley. Remember, Isshiki came to the village, he beat up Naruto, Sasuke came in, he threw his sword, transformation jutsu, it was Boruto. Boruto used his karma and took them to another dimension, and Sasuke followed them using his Rinnegan. Now, Isshiki was in a whole other dimension. Unless the creators say that if you plant a chakra tree on Earth, every other dimension that has been a portal to that dimension has been opened up on Earth will be affected. There is no way to say that you can get Ishiki's chakra from here, because Kawaki, as you can see in this panel, this was where he outsmarted Isshiki with his shadow clone, and then this was where Isshiki died. Kawaki literally jumped on his crumbling body and he turned to dust in another dimension. The Shinju trees said that they'll take all chakra that has been and that is on the planet, not in different dimensions. That's their job, to eat, to create to take chakra and create chakra trees for Otsutsuki's. But now they are sentient. So that Shinju cannot be Jigen or Isshiki. Jigen was burned alive, then his body was used to become a host body for Isshiki. Then Isshiki was crumbling and turned to dust. That cannot be Isshiki, no way. We know all the Shinju, they replicate the looks of those they have eaten. As you can see, Bug, Moegi, and Sasuke. So that Shinju, it's probably Kakashi, because we don't really see Kakashi's face that often, so that's surrounding the mystery. That's a mystery. I know we've seen it with the new Stone Connections game. His face is there in an anime episode. His face is there, but it's just a theory of mine. There is no. I also doubt it, but we can hope, right? Because like I really want Kakashi back in the story, and seeing him as a villain after all he's gone through will be crazy for real. So like I theorize that it's Kakashi or it's Amado. I doubt, but it could be. I mean, we all want to see Amado in a villain troop, but we don't know for sure who this guy is. But I do very much hope you understand why he is not Isshiki or Jigen. So do not get your hopes up. This is what most creators are saying on TikTok. Like, are you guys even thinking or what? How can you say this is Isshiki or Jigen after everything? After we saw how they died. There's no coming back from that. And on top of that, they died in another dimension. So unless the creator says them, I do not believe it's them. I hope you get my point and I've convinced you. Please like, sub, and thank you for 122 subscribers. It's going to be a long road to 1,000, but I know we can make it there. Peace out, and I love you all.